All right, we're going to do some more Let's Talk Carving. I think this is part 5. And we've had some questions come up to us this week. And I like this. We get to share the carving questions that are asked on Let's Talk Carving. If you are on Facebook and you don't know about that, go to Let's Talk Carving. It's not the subscribers I'm talking about. It's just that so people can understand and get to know a little bit. We've got some great people that answer the questions and help people so much about certain things, particularly, carving events. We've been carrying where the recent carving shows are and things like that. So let's get into it. I've got an interesting first question today that I have gotten over and over the years. And I'll tell you a little something. It starts off with Harold asked, I want to start selling some carvings to the public, but as times don't feel my work is up to par yet. I'm a character carver, not doing too bad, and I have been asked that I will sell some of my pieces. But how can I get this feeling for not being enough yet out of my mind and relax? Okay, what he's trying to basically say is this, and I have heard this from carvers for years and years and years. I'm carving, I'm doing pretty good, but I'm not confident enough to show people or sell my pieces or do things like that. I've had people email me and message me from different places and say, I'm doing good on my carving, but I don't want to show it on Facebook because, I look at all these great carvings and I feel inferior, or I feel this such a thing, I don't have enough confidence in my work. Let me explain something to all of you right now. I know that if you are friends with carvers on Facebook, you see a lot of carvings, like in character carving, things like that. But to be honest with you, the carving community is not a large group of people. It's really not. The whittling and carving community is not a large group of people. And you don't think so? I mean, go to some of these shows and stuff, and you'll see a lot of people that show up there but are not carvers. They're just people to look at the pieces and things like that. And so you're in a minority in a carving group. I mean, and as far as the arts are concerned, more people paint, more people do sculpture, pottery, things like that, than they do wood carving. In fact, I've carved in many different places, and people will come up and go, I've never seen that before. I didn't know people even did that. I had a man walk up to me one time when I was just carving in a coffee shop, and he said, well, my grandfather or my father used to do that, but I didn't think anybody did that anymore. So it's not that regular or something that people see a lot of. They just don't. I never got one time, I was in Gatlinburg, I think, and I was carving on the street there. I had just picked up my tools and I was up on a bench and I was carving. And a guy came by and he had been to a carving show over there in Townsend, Tennessee. And he came by and he stopped and he said, you know what? He said, I just came from a carving show, but I didn't see anybody carving. I saw a lot of carvings, but I didn't see anybody, actually doing it and everything like that. And he said, I was fascinated with it, but I just didn't see anyone with it. And I said, now I got a chance to see it. So a lot of people just don't see it. And this is what I'm trying to say. You're in the minority as far as art is concerned. So even if you don't feel that your figures are all that great and all that wonderful, let me tell you something, okay? People are going to want to buy them and they're going to want to, have them. Now, I'm not saying that people don't want you to give them away to them. I'm not saying that you have to figure out a price as far as that's concerned. But what I am saying is that people are fascinated with wood carving. When people just use a knife or a gouge or something like that to create a piece. Sit there and whittling a dog or whittling or just a figure or something like that. People are just fascinated by those things. So you've got to get the fear out of your mind that I'm not good enough, okay? None of us are great. I mean, they, of course, on different computers and stuff and character carvers, we have good character carvers, we have those things. But don't feel that, you know, if you want to post. And if you feel maybe you're not ready for character carvers, then go to one of the other sites like Whittling 101 or Whittling Club or something like that and post them on there and see the reaction that you get. And even if you don't get a whole lot of reactions, it doesn't mean that your pieces are not good. It just means that, you know, maybe this is the first time a lot of people have seen them or whatever. I remember when I first started carving in more of a flat plane looking way, a lot of people didn't like it. I was told by a lot of carvers, you know, this doesn't look finished, you're not doing it right and everything like that, as I was creating myself with the old style of carving. And it didn't stop me, and I kept doing it. And then I started getting people that did like it. And I started getting people say, hey, I love this and everything like that. I never forgot over in, it was at Smoky Mountain Wood Carvers. Mac Prophet's place up there in Townsend, Tennessee. And I had gone through there, and I went there, and a lady that was at the counter said, oh, you're a carver? Now I'm at the counter buying stuff, and she said, oh, you're a carver. Because I'm going to tell you something, folks, that a lot of people just, they don't know. They don't know that you're a carver because it's just not an extremely, that's why it's called a dying art. Because it's just not a lot of people that do it. I mean, if you compare the population compared to carvers, it's a very, very small amount. So people are extremely impressed. And she asked me, said, oh, you're a carver? I said, yeah, I do a little flat plane. I do a little this. She said, well, do you have any of your pieces? I said, well, yeah, I got one out in the car, and I had a cowboy out there. And I brought it in there, and I had done it kind of in the flat plane way, and I left all the cuts in it in kind of a rough shape. And her husband, who was a carver, he looked at it and he said, yeah, I don't like to really carve like that. I mean, it's just that. And she said, I love it. Can I have it? She wanted it more than anything in the world. And so I gave it to her. And she said, she looked at her husband, she said, I wish you would carve like this. So what I'm trying to say is, at that possible time, I didn't feel, you know, that I had anything compared to the carver that I saw his work and stuff like that. But the lady loved my work. So when it comes to selling your carvings or displaying your carvings or putting them out there, don't worry about, you know, even if it's simple whittlings, don't worry so much about whether somebody's going to like it or not. They will like it. If they find out that you've carved wood and you've carved it in shapes that they'll never be able to do, then they'll like it. They really will. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to display your work or display the things that you've done, because you would be just absolutely shocked at what people like. And I'll get off this question, but there was a lady, her name was Miss Whitehead, and she was in our wood carving club down here. This was many, many years ago. And she carved simple things. I mean, they weren't highly detailed carvings and everything like that, but she carved simple things. And she kept a good price, you know, a rightful price on them and stuff. And she sold, at the end of the shows, she would sell everything. Sell everything she had. And I know a lot of guys go, she's giving her stuff away. No, she wasn't giving it away. She just wasn't, you know, she wasn't charging an arm and a leg like she was all this great. But she was good. But she wasn't great. She have sold all her stuff. Why? Because her stuff appealed to people. And a lot of times, simpler is better. People see something simple, a little dog, a little figure, something like that, and that they want that. a lot of people don't realize that women especially have these little curio cabinets or little small cabinets, and when you carve small things that they can put inside those little curio cabinets, or I don't know what they call them, but they love that. They love to see those type of things. And so what I'm saying is, don't be afraid. You know, carve a little while. Don't be afraid. Get better as you go along, but don't be afraid to display anything. Don't be afraid to do it. That's part of the art itself. In other words, nobody has when they first start painting that they're just beautiful. It takes some time. It takes some of that issue, but just don't worry about that. Just get in it. You know, do what you have to do, and people will enjoy looking at it, because I'm telling you, you are the minority. You really are. Whittler Dave up in Gatlinburg, he goes over to Burger King on Sunday mornings and whittles, and of all the hundreds of people that come through there in the morning and things like that, Dave said, oh, they love to look at my stuff, but they'll say, I could never do that, I could never do that, I could never do that. So you are in the minority. So don't worry about what someone says. If they want to buy your piece and you want to sell it, you sell it. You sell it to them. And or you know, whatever. But don't worry too much about, oh, I'm not that good enough. Now that doesn't mean that you don't want to get better. It just means that, you know, we all start out, we all do things. And I think I sold more carvings when I first started carving than I do now. Mainly because I don't really want to sell my carvings much anymore. I give most of them away. But I sold a lot of them, and which I thought were not that good. I was in shows in Beaumont, and people bought my carvings, and I thought, wow, why would you want to buy something like that? Because some of my faces weren't perfect and stuff, but they wanted them, okay? That's what they wanted, and they loved them. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it at all. All right, my next question is, this is a question by Chris. I've been hand stropping my knife from a while for now, and good results. But I would really like to learn power stropping and sharpening. I'm looking at the Burke system, but I don't know where to start, because I know a lot about power stropping can ruin your tools if not done correctly. So how do I get started properly? This is something that I feel that if you're going to learn power stropping, this is like anything else. This is trial and error, as they say. You have to be very, very careful power stropping or sharpening, especially in the sharpening part. If you're using a grit or whatever, a light grit, that you want to be very, very careful that you don't overheat your tool, because if you burn the tip of your tool or burn your tool, then you know it's pretty messed up then. So when it comes to power stropping, it's very important that you read up on it. A lot of people just buy things, you know, they just buy anything they want to, and then they go, oh, I'm going to do this, and then they don't realize. Now when it comes to the leather stropping with power, I do that all the time, but just remember that when it comes to sharpening, now what I do is, if I'm going to sharpen something and I'm using power, I always have a cup of water or something next to it. So when I just barely put on there a little bit, and I dip it in the water to keep it cool. That's the way I do it, to keep it from burning the tip. Because I burnt tips before. And when you do that, or I burnt the tip of a knife, and I mean, you know, you lose the temper on it, and that's it. So it takes a little time to learn power stropping. It really does, and power sharpening. But once you learn it, then it's fantastic. It's just you can whip it right out. And the Burke system he's talking about is a great system. It really is. It's for the sharpening. It's for the stropping. It's the leather, it's the wheels most of the time with the Burke system. And I think they run oh, I don't know, 300 and something, maybe 400 for a Burke system, and they have even a better one. But the most important thing is read about it, study about it, watch videos on it, watch how people do it, because and if you have older knives or older tools, try those first instead of the new tools that you bought or the ones that you cherish. You know, when you try it, get an older tool if you have it and use that. So if something does happen, you're not losing anything. I've learned that. You know, it's just when I was learning, I used some older tools that someone had sent me, and I would, you know, in case something would happen, if I lost the tool, it would not be a great loss to me. Where if I would have used, and you know, and mostly I do power stropping with my knives, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, well, you just got to do it by hand for a long period of time. You can do it in seconds with that. And I do have some videos on how to power strop, how to make you a power strop that made out of, I know, and I'm going to say something that cringes a lot of people, out of a Harbor Freight belt sander, or any belt sander that in a leather belt. I have a video on that you can use. And so when it comes to power stropping, yes, you need to study it, you need to be careful, and you need to look and see what people are saying about it and how to do it. Just don't take your knives and take your V-tools and stuff and just think you know what you're doing and then end up burning them. Because once you do that, it's no good. I mean, most time it's no good after that. It's you if you've tempered that steel, I mean, if you've burnt that steel, then you know it's just not going to be very good anymore, especially on a knife too. So take your time power stropping, take your time, and go to have people help you. Number 3 is this. Marsha asks, I want to venture into relief carving. Now, this question, I am not a relief carver, so I don't feel I can answer this question. What it is, what she's talking about is she's doing some relief carving, but she doesn't know how deep to cut so that she can get that 3-dimensional look like a mantelpiece and things like that. I would love to answer this question, but I am not a relief carver. And I do not want to tell someone, they have guys that are answering that on Let's Talk Carving, and the best thing to do is go and talk to them about it. When it comes to depth perception, as far as that's concerned, I am not familiar with it. I really am, and I admit that. There are certain types of carving, like chip carving. I've done one of the chip carvings. I didn't care to do chip carving. The best thing to do is learn from people who are experts at it, do a great job, and all those things, because these people are the ones that know. As far as relief carving, I have never done relief carving. Never done it. Now, I love to look at it. It's beautiful. I've seen some gorgeous relief carving, but I am just not an expert in that field, so I won't answer that question specifically. All right, number 4 is Wesley asks, I have a carving knife that I love because of the great blade and sharpness, but I hate the handle and its length is too small for my hands. I want to make my own handle using the old blade. How hard is it to cut the handle off and remove the glued blade out of the old one without damaging the blade in the process? Okay. This is a common problem among a lot of carvers, and we've discussed this just as well, that the blade is an important factor, but the handle is also an important factor. If like for instance, as you said, I've got a bigger hand and the handle is so small it feels uncomfortable in my hand. And if you're going to do a lot of carving, you want that handle to fit, and I like the wooden handles, I do, to fit your hand the way it should. That's why a lot of times when you buy a carving knife, the best thing to do is buy it from someone who is a carver. for instance, when we talk about heavy knives, and I know they're hard to get right now, but Rich and Holly, they're carvers. So they produce the knives and the handles to fit carvers and to be comfortable in your hand. That's extremely important. Many of our Badger State blades and OCCT and Mike Shipley knives and those things, the wooden knives. There's many more. They're made for the handle to fit, larger hands, smaller hands, those things. And if it's not comfortable, folks, I don't care. You just don't. It makes it not as pleasurable to work with. That's all there is to it. Like anything else, that you're doing. So a lot of people, what they do, they have a knife with a great blade, and they would like to somehow remove the handle off that blade and get them some wood and make their own handle to fit their hand. And it can be done. It can be. Now you've got to be careful when you do it. Now I've done it taking the blade out of something, but I've done it with a bandsaw. Now what I usually do is, if you have a bandsaw, is I'll take and I'll wrap, for instance, they've got that tape that people often wrap on their hands and stuff like that. You can wrap that around your blade. Wrap something around your blade so that you don't scar it when you're trying to remove the handle. Even if it's tape or whatever. Something to try to protect the handle so that it doesn't get scratched or whatever. And then I'll take my bandsaw and then I'll wrap the blade so that it's not scarred or anything like that. And I'll just start cutting the handle off of it and cutting along where the blade is. And when you get down to that thing, then you can work and get the blade out of it, so that you can then shape usually what you do when you make a handle is you get two pieces of wood, 1/2 inch or maybe 3/16 whatever, and then you cut a groove in one of them to put your handle in, and then you glue your pieces together, and that's how you made your handle. I made quite a few handles, and I've done that with a lot of blades that I love. I'm going to say a name, and the Beavercraft. I like their blades. They're a little straight cutting knife. I like their blades. I don't like their handles. I don't. I do not like the handles, but I like the blades. And I have actually removed that handle off of that knife and kind of cut straight with that bandsaw, cut it off, taking the handle out, and because it's glued in there, but I mean, you can take it out, you can kind of sand it down and get that handle out of there and put it in between another wooden handle that I made. Maybe I made it out of walnut or something like that to make it feel better in my hand. I've done that. I mean, it's not extremely hard, but the main thing is you want to wrap that handle, make sure that you don't scar it up, or nick the blade or nick the edge of the blade, or the sharp edge of the blade or whatever. Make sure of that so when you go to take the handle off. But like I said, I like their little blades. They carve good. But I just don't like the handles. I really and honestly don't. I don't. To me, they don't fit good in my hand. I don't care for them. So I've done that many times. I've taken the blade out, cut the wood handle off, and cut it. Set it on the bandsaw, and even with the blade, and then just slice it right down the middle, where it comes apart, and take the blade out of it. And I've done that many a times, and it's worked fantastic. It has. But if you don't like the handle, then you're not going to like to carve with. That's all there is to it. So you want to be careful. And so many people, like I said, they get this idea that, you know, well, I want this knife and I want this thing and I want, you know, this certain knife, but they don't understand sometimes that handle. And you can, if the handle doesn't fit right, then you can shape it if it's long enough. But if it's too short, like he's talking about, then, I mean, you can't really add on to it. So just slice it in half with a bandsaw or with something else and take the glued blade out of it and then fit it into another piece of wood, and there you go. You got it. So that's the 3 questions that we have. I'm sorry I could not answer the relief question, but I'm not a relief carver, and it is smart. If you don't do that kind of work, don't answer it. Don't tell somebody something just because they want to hear it. You know, don't tell them that, because then you'll mess them up. Then they'll have hours and hours of struggling and trying to figure out what in the world this guy's talking about until they finally come to the conclusion that you don't know what you're talking about. So anyway, those are our 3 questions that we had. And like I said, you can always message me on Facebook or whatever, but just realize that you can do these things yourself. You can do them yourself. I mean, when it comes to really be honest with you, when it comes to taking a handle off, if you don't have a bandsaw, oh, I don't have a bandsaw, okay. Well, you can then take your knife and you can actually start whittling off the pieces of the, you know, whittling off where the blade is and whittling it down and taking it out that way. So there's many ways to do it. There's many ways. The main thing is protect your blade. Make sure that you protect that blade so that you don't nick it or anything like that while in the process of doing that. So anyway, that's how you can do it. And my advice is not the only one. Like I said, if you can get on Let's Talk Carving, there's a lot of people that can tell you things and help you to understand. So we appreciate it, and I think this is volume 5 of Let's Talk Carving. A lot of people seem to like it. It's because it gives a lot of information as we talk and stuff like that. And like I said, if you're on Facebook, please go to Let's Talk Carving and subscribe or join, because it's not just the reason I started the website the site is not just, you just don't go on there and see carvings. You don't go on there and see carving after carving after carving after carving. To me, that doesn't help you. It really doesn't. But asking questions and doing things like that, and there's been a lot of questions that have been asked that I don't know, but other people do. And so you can learn through that. That's why I've always tried to keep the site from having people just post carvings. I don't like that. Every once in a while, once a month or something, I tell everybody what's on your. I have a question and answer. Show us what's on your bench, and in the comments section they put their show their carvings and stuff. But that's not what the website is all about. It was about discussion. It's about so that a person can come there and ask questions and get some answers from some fabulous carvers that we have on there. And from that point, it helps so much. So anyway, there's answers to a lot of questions. But find the right person. Just like I said, the relief carving. If you came to me and asked me about the relief, I just have to simply tell you, look, I don't know that much about it, but I can contact someone and maybe have them help you. So that's the best thing in the world, because just admit you don't know about something and don't try to answer, because nobody is a it's like realistic carving. If you're a caricature carver and someone asks you about realistic carving, the best thing to do is, well, I'm not sure what it is, but let me see if I can find somebody that can help you. Then you have people like Jeff Fairs and Fred. Well, I don't know about Fred Cogsloff. You can get him to answer, but just things like that. All right, God bless you now, and thank you for tuning in. And I hope that these can help you in some way. But don't ever be afraid of what you're doing, because you're doing something right now that very few people can do. And I found that out so much. Very few people you meet, and I've been on the streets of Gatlinburg with thousands and thousands and thousands of people are on the street and see me whittling and stop and ask, and they have no idea, or they haven't seen people do it or whatever. And that's, you know, it's just amazing to them in such a way. All right, God bless you now. Have a good day, and we'll continue this at times and talk about it, and just blessings unto you, and the Lord be with you. God bless you now. Bye-bye.